panopo nthawi yoti kuti ndatenge a former make chair maso a former Supreme Court judge Dr. James Ansah amene ali one of the members that are DPP UK. Munayiwala kuti chimodzi munabe mweso mgazi yomwe tapita ku Malawi kuja neso went on the ground tapita ku nyumba kwa Dr. Ansah kuti ikacheze nawo kuwauza kuti you are one of the seniors mimi kuja vidiro bana kutoka koma iwe mene mwalowera ku chipande cha DPP ku Malawi ku kuja kusefende utadani ta toraso mugoto wazithandiza ndiye amadipasa council ndithu kuti feo mutaziti panga guide as I mean as the supporter then tapi akuti ati pange kwa trace maka what we want is kuti atiuze maupdates about what is happening in Malawi, because as maybe some of you have heard kuti akwera ku Malawi this Thursday. The other boat lindi uchitika izizi maka mena nadula matiketi awo kuti atista izizi utazakhale for private then nachiona kuti I mean kuti sangasa kwambiri feyo kuti tapase pata kuti atipange address maka tuzo kuti Malawi kuchitika dijani kumaso atipange encourage ifeyo ngati supporters. At the same time, we must also carry a Smartimatic. We don't go to the Makamagodi card is a election model. It's made a bunch. Yeah, due to the Rusi former make chair of the Ansah like that. This is one.
DPP Oye!
Oye!
Professor Peter Mutharika Oye!
Oye!
DPP Chair UK Oye!
Oye!
DPP Executive UK Oye!
Oye! Oye!
Good evening. It is a great honor for me to be here with this. When I heard that you are having this function, I said I will attend because I am also in the UK. Although currently I'm in you have heard the chair, she said former this, former this, but she didn't say that.
That's fine.
The current, I am running for Member of Parliament in Nchewe North West constituency in Malawi. We had the primaries. I did not do well, and but there was a complaint. I believe it will be sorted out soon. I'm here not for a long time.
Sorry about that.
Because I have to go back. The month of June is very important. It's because it's the time we collect the nomination papers and also presentation of nomination papers. I am really encouraged meeting all of you. And in particular, when the introductions were going on, there are people who are, I would call veterans, because they have been here for a long time. You know, such consistency is very, very important. I worked in a government. I was a youth professor. I remember when it came to voting, all the time I prayed to the Lord, who should I vote for? But I retired in 2020, and last year I joined the DPP. Why did I join the DPP? I joined the DPP because of what GDP stands for. And also, I know the situation, how it is in Malawi. So tonight, we gather to reflect on the state of our nation. In the 2020, the Tosi Alliance government came to power through the back door. You will be surprised to say, why am I saying through the back door? Because there were elections. It is through the back door. Because of the electoral process, what happens? Just to give you a small background, I was the next chair there. When the elections were conducted, they are conducted at polling centers. They are polling centers. And the process at the polling center is that there are observers from the international community, from civil society, and there are also many monitors from stakeholders. So before everything starts, the empty boxes are shown, people verify they are empty, and then the polling starts. At the end, in the presence of the observers and everybody else, the stakeholders, representatives, they open and they begin to count. After counting, there's a form, I think 4A, which is filled. Each contestant, you know, the name and the vote they have received. Now, what happens at that juncture is that every observer gets a copy of the results. Every party representative gets a copy. And even the SOs and the broadcasters. You know, that's why we hear the broadcasters, they broadcast and confirm the results. You know, and official results. Where do they get the official and unofficial results? They get them from the polling center. And every political party, the way I know it, they have their own tally centers. Where do they get the information? It is also from the polling center. So before anybody knows, any contestant will know how they have performed. They will know how they have performed. Because they are representatives, they will take the results, rush to their principals, tell them, they will quickly tally the results, and they will know. Why am I emphasizing this? I am emphasizing this because they were saying there was a Tipex. You know where Tipex was? It was at the other level. We're at the tally center, but not at the polling station. So when adding, you know, tally is adding from different constituencies. That's where maybe an 8 will look like a 6, maybe a 0 will look like 100 will look like 1,000, and they will have, you know, Tipex as a correction through it. And when you follow the judgment is very clear that Tipex was not used to disadvantage anybody or or as an advantage to anybody, but it was for correction of errors. I just wanted to take you backwards so that you know where we are coming from. That's why I'm saying the Tosi Alliance went into government through the back door. Because the time they were going to court, each one of them, truthfully, they knew where they stood. Because they had the original results. And then this was confirmed with the rerun. The results of the rerun were not different from the 2019 results. Tose alliance government went into government, it brought in a lot of expectations through the big promises that they gave to the people. I believe some of them, they were flowery promises, which I believe even the makers of those promises, they did not have faith that they will realize whatever they were saying. You know, they promised that Malawians will be eating 3 times a day. They promised that they will create 1 million jobs. You know, there's an organization here, I've forgotten the organization. They do promise we will create jobs and so forth. But when the government goes to engage, you know, the business people, they talk to them to see how best they can create jobs. And one of the ways they create jobs here is to fund certain activities in Africa.
Yeah.
So they will justify using the UK taxpayers' money to use in Africa because they want to create jobs. You know, when I was doing my PhD at Nottingham University, next to me there was a friend of mine. She was also doing her PhD. Do you know, the British government gave us some money for the rule of law. And she was employed as the boss running that that project. And when you look at closely at those projects, you find out that money do not move from the UK. It remains here, a large bit of it. Anyway, I am just talking about creating jobs. So these promises were made without any knowledge at all how the million jobs will be made. And other promises that fertilizer will be more affordable. I'm using the word more affordable because it was affordable for the first time. And for fuel, ngambwi. I've just come from Malawi. You know, people sleep at the filling station for days. But as we stand today, the reality of all those promises, the reality of ever Malawians going to Canaan, it is far from being achieved. We are still, maybe not even in the wilderness, we are still in Egypt. And if we had moved to go to Mount Horeb, it would have been something else. It would have said our journey has started. But we are still in Egypt, and even more. Now, we know that DPP, from what it has done in the past, it is the solution for Malawi today. Under the DPP leadership of Dr. Bingu wa Mutalika, we know Chitsulo Chanjanji, may his soul rest in peace.
Amen.
And also under the leadership of APM Adadi, we have proven leadership. And this proven leadership must take the reins of Malawi again.
Amen.
Why? Because the TPP knows what it takes to drive Malawi in the right direction. I remember when the APM came to power, Malawi could not even afford to send delegates to attend the SADC meetings. There was one meeting, they wanted a particular minister, they called, we want a minister of trade. They could not go because the coffers were empty. But under the leadership of APA, we saw how things improved, how things became better for the whole Malawi. So, as I said that I joined DPP. Why did I join DPP? I looked at what DPP stands for: development, security, and justice. I saw that development is very, very important. Why? We hear of human rights in Malawi, that we have the Bill of Rights in our constitution. Yes, we have the right to vote. We have the right to join any party. We have freedom of speech and everything else. But there's one particular right that we don't talk about. That right is in section 30 of the Malawi Constitution. It is the right to development. That each and every Malawian, each and every community organization, they have a right to development. So when DPP, puts as one of its cornerstones to be development, it is actually saying DPP wants to ensure the promotion and the realization of the right to development. And then it has a security. Without security, we cannot develop. This year, I cannot say it's just because of hunger, but crops have been stolen from the gardens in a way that it has never happened. I cultivated 4 acres of cassava. They stole the whole 4 acres, and including the stock, the sticks to sell. No, to replant. Now to get the cuttings.
Cassava.
Yes.
You need to buy those these days.
Yes. And then I have maize. Do you know how they store the maize? Somebody had the audacity to go to the maize garden, get the maize cobs, sit down, open them up, and then shell the maize and leave the maize cobs in the garden.
Which time?
Wow.
And this just tells us how bad things are in Malawi. People are desperate. And in their desperation, they have become even cruel. Someone went to another garden with his truck, they stole everything, and they left a bag of fertilizer and a bag of maize.
For the next season. I'll come again. I'll come again.
This is how far the Tonse Alliance government has brought Malawians to. Malawians are on their knees. The Malawi economy is on its knees. Even the Malawi humanity is on its knees. Because what is happening is inhuman. And therefore, we cannot wait for the 16th. And the last one is justice. Without justice, we cannot have development. We must have corrupt-free government. It is not only government, but everywhere, we must have justice. Corruption, it is a bad disease that cripples a human being and the whole society. Now, I want to talk about DPP's preparedness. So far, we have had primary elections. They are almost over. So in most constituencies, we have aspiring MPs. And we have to keep on encouraging one another and also doing some campaign so that things must go well. And I must thank you, DPP UK wing, that you are doing the right thing, as we have heard. It is not the first time, but you have been doing it. We need you more than ever this time around. Why? Because there are a few things that have changed. You know that the Toss Alliance made things different for DPP. And in particular, even the ABM's account to date, it remains frozen. It remains frozen. So we really need what you are raising here to help us. And also have the fleet of DPP's vehicles taken by the these are the issues that they make, officials difficult to travel around. But having said that, be encouraged that DPP is doing well. If we can say from the meetings that they are having, but what is also telling is the Afrobarometer results that are showing that DPP is having an upper hand. That said, on the other side, our friends, they have the money, and people can easily be swayed because of money and the promises. You see, when people are desperate, they can be abused, they can be exploited for the benefit of the exploiters. So what you are doing tonight, it is not a small thing, it is very, very important. Let me just talk a bit about Smartimatic. The Smartimatic election system. It is a system that is built for electronic voting. However, this system and this executive have been sued for malpractices in the US, in 2020 in the Philippines, in Venezuela, and maybe as a system it is okay, but it can easily be manipulated by the human beings that have wanted to manipulate it. First and foremost, the system lacks transparency. Electoral holders can't easily follow and understand the processes. So it must be only experts. But if the system is easy, we know now we have got smartphones. With the smartphones, even someone who is not so learned, they are able to use it. So the electoral system must be one that is transparent and that can easily be followed. Number two, the system uses servers that are positioned outside Malawi, not in Malawi. This is prone to manipulation as MEC is not in full control of the results management process. Now, MEC is saying before they bought these machines, they consulted the stakeholders. Yes, maybe that happened. and they got a nod from the stakeholders. But then, how many times as human beings we have embarked on doing something? When you begin to run with it, you see that, no, there are these negatives. You apply brakes and you stop and you say, maybe I will look elsewhere. The fact that stakeholders were told, it is not something that Meg should stand on and say, why didn't you say that time? It was being introduced to them. Did Meg, in introducing Smartimatic electronic voting, did they tell them the negatives and the positives? Did they tell them where examples of where it has done well and where it has not done well? So the people nodded, not from knowledge. They did not know what they were dealing with. Maybe it was sugar-coated and everybody thought it was a good machine. It was a good process. When I was my chair, I had the opportunity to attend one of the conferences where electronic voting was being discussed in Romania. And at the end, we concluded that we can never take the human being and the paper out of the system. This electronic voting must go hand in hand with the ballot paper voting for verification and comparison. And Malawi, we are not so developed like America. I was in Washington many years ago, some years ago, when they were having elections. They vote by the machines. But at the same time, they have the paper ballots. So they will fill and put the paper ballot there, and they will go and vote. So that in case there's a query, they should be able to have the tool. The same thing in DRC. They used electronic voting, but it was paper. They looked at the results in the electronic voting, and they actually did the counting of the paper ballots, and they were the same. So there was no problem. But we know that Smartimatic electronic voting system has failed miserably in Kenya in 2007. And this led to post-election violence, where 1,300 people died in Kenya, not far from Malawi. And just next door, not long time ago, we know what has happened in Mozambique. And who are at the center of it? Smartimatic. That's why you hear that DPP, together with the opposition, they are opposing to the use of the Smartimatic electronic voting. So the battle still goes on because we have not reached a final verdict, although now, before they were refusing to have auditors. I think the way MEC is working, it is retrogressive. During our time, we introduced the auditors, and they did a good job. And this time around, why is it that they are not engaging auditors? Because once you start a new thing, a good thing, you must continue with it. So they have allowed auditors, but in a limited way. I don't know how limited they are. I am a layman in that area, but I believe the experts that we have, they will do a good job. And it is not only that. During the time of transfers, there were people that went to transfer from where they registered, because maybe they have moved, they are in another place. And at that time, it was discovered that there were people whose names were not on the register. And when they queried, and these people, we are not on the register, it was only found in the southern region of Malawi, where DPP is the strongest. So I think in the end, maybe a MEC itself they actually acknowledged, considered that there were about 1,000 or 2,000 names that were missing from the register. And that is a red flag that cannot be ignored by me or anybody at all. We want to have a fair election so that those that people want to come and correct the mess that is there, they must come and correct the mess. So that's where we are with the Smartimatic. In conclusion, my fellow TPP UK members here, this is the time to take responsibility of Malawi's future by holding your leaders accountable and help to build strong institutions that will serve the people of Malawi. Let us harness our education and energy to serve our communities. You know, Malawi is an agricultural country. We have been surviving on agriculture. But the past few years, it has been difficult because tobacco is actually not encouraged everywhere in the world. So the tobacco industry has suffered a nosedive. And we thank the Lord for his mercies endures forever. Malawi, there are minerals that have been discovered. And in fact, if you Google on YouTube, the richest family in Malawi, you will know who is the richest family. They begin by number 10, going down to the richest family. When you listen correctly, they will say Pinganjira. They will tell you where Pinganjira got his money, business, Korea, Mpasa, Simbi, and the like. But the richest family, they say it is agriculture and mining. I don't know whether you have seen that YouTube. It's agriculture and mining, which means the mines are there. There's gold in Malawi. There are precious stones in Malawi. And they have already started exploiting them. We really need a government that has got the plight of the people at his heart. We thank the Lord that in Malawi, when the people go into government, there is a law that requires everybody to declare their assets. They declared their assets. I don't know how much they declared, whether what they declared when they entered the government will tally with what they have to do. So that is where we are. So I'll thank you once again that it is good that we in the UK, we are fundraising so that we can take the reins of Malawi. Maybe before I sit down, when I was at NEC, we looked at ways of including those in the diaspora in elections. I was thinking that maybe that would have been taken a step further because we discussed the records are there. Other than using a lot of money for Smartimatic voting, MEG should have thought of extending voting to those in diaspora. You should not just be reduced to raising funds, but you must be part and parcel of choosing who will be in the government. Because whatever is happening in Malawi, it is affecting each one of you. You have got families in Malawi. Not only families, but you are Malawians. You are here for a while. There's a time that you will go back to Malawi. You don't want to go back to Malawi, to a dead Malawi, a finished Malawi. You want to go back to Malawi where things will be good. So, I encourage you that please continue with what you are doing. You have already encouraged me that you are people that are decisive and consistent. I remember just a few, was it last week? Somebody put on the Facebook that I have defected to UTM. And I just said in a simple word that when I jump in a boat, I float with it or I drown with it. Because I would jump in a boat out of conviction. I will see, where is this boat heading to? Is it going to make it? Will it carry my weight? Will I be able to talk to people and interact with the people in this boat? And having sat down to make that decision, I will float with it. I will sink with it. And I just want us to be encouraged with my interaction with the late people and also APM. During the time of Section 2065, when we lost the case at court, I went and informed the president. I was Attorney General then. And he said something very important. We're in a meeting with all the ministers, cabinet meeting, and everybody saying, but what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And people said, there was a man whose house was raised down to the floor by fire, only to get an opportunity to build a better house. TPP in 2020 was shaken and we were on the floor. But I believe what we have gone through has given us an opportunity to build a greater TPP. And the APM, when he was Minister of Justice, I was still at he was having meetings at the investors, talks. And he will have an opportunity, give opportunity for people to ask a question. So somebody asked the person, said, you know, DPP is doing a lot of things. What is the DPP doing? But UDF, what did the UDF do? You know, they were running down UDF. You know, APM, you know, he sat there. And I used to answer the questions in my mind before he answered. And in my mind, I would say, oh, DPP, UDF did nothing, corrupt, this and that. But he surprised me with his response. He said, you know, Kamuzu brought independence. And UDF brought democracy. And Kamuzu with independence, he built M1. DPP is taking M1 from M1 into the villages. You know, APA is a deep thinker. He is patient, considerate. That is why when he saw that, you know, the judgment had gone against him, he did not go to cause any more problem. And I think in his words he said, Malawians have suffered enough. And for their sake, I am not going to do anything. He went and sat down. So I want to emphasize again, we have proven leadership in the APM. And let us hold hands together so that come 16 September, APM is going to come.
Oye!
Oye! UK DPP win oye!
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 Thank you. Andi maliza niko khala basi.